Are you tired of prioritizing numbers and metrics over real, authentic content? Well, what if there is another way? Meet Autumn. She's grown consistently over the last few years to 250,000 followers on Twitch. She's made mental health and her content her top priority, and she's inspired her viewers to do the same. With her raw, vulnerable approach, she shares her personal struggles and offers insights and practical tips for coping with mental health challenges. So, are you ready to put your own well-being first?
When I was 18th, actually my 18th birthday was my very first stream ever. One of my best friends in high school, he streamed on Twitch once playing like WoW, and he was like, oh, you should play this, because he just told me about it. And I've always loved video games. I've been gaming since I was like 5. My dad got a PC. Like I remember going to the PC store with him, getting so excited, like playing my first game of like Hitman and Doom and like America's Army and all of these like really fun games. So on my 18th birthday, I had my very first stream ever, and I streamed CSGO. I had like 2 viewers, but I was so excited. Like I remember I just had someone chat in my chat and I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like I can talk to you from Europe. And it was so fascinating to me that I can make like not an influence, but an impact, I guess, or talk to people from like around the world. And then from there, I just became like obsessed with streaming. And then I streamed like every day while like still trying to finish high school. Like, I went through so much as a kid, and like even my grandma always said, like, you've always been so persistent. Like if you wanted something, you always got it. And I think that's always been like my mentality of like, I don't want to like end up how my parents ended up. Like I want to be as successful as possible while also like spreading a positive influence. The more I've streamed, the more I've realized like the purpose and why I'm doing this is to empower a lot of other women and younger girls, because I have like a larger girl audience than I did like a couple years ago. And it's something that I've realized like, oh man, this really fuels me. Like I love doing this. One of my first big breaks, I suppose, I played Among Us in the version 1 tournament before I joined them. Trainwreck was in the tournament, and I ended up winning the tournament, but I strategically went after him because he was first, so I'd always try to kill him first. So he really respected that, and he actually like reached out to me, and he invited me that night to an XQC and Trainwreck in this huge Among Us lobby. And then he actually connected me with like a Cash App sponsor and like really like propelled me forward, which was like so nice of him. You know, connections are so important in this industry. And then just staying consistently, like I just kept streaming consistently. I was just taking any opportunity that I possibly could to, you know, just get my name out there and get myself out there, and just also try to make genuine friendships, which is also very hard because you never want people thinking you're using them, but like I also really just want more friends in the space. So originally it was like, oh, like, can I do this full time? And then, oh, like my next goal was like, oh, I want to go to college. And then I actually graduated like a vet assistant. I wanted to work in vet clinics. But then I was like, no, like I actually want to keep going and streaming. I want to hit 100K followers. I want to hit 200K followers. So I realized like, oh man, like that isn't a goal. I want to hit a goal of like getting X amount of people into therapy, or like talking or helping other women, or like getting more women comfortable with gaming, or having the most people I possibly can hanging out in Discord to like make people happy. So it was more so just like helping more people. Like that is always my goal, and I think that's always just going to be my goal forever, is just helping people. I remember even when I started, I definitely didn't have a goal. I just was so lost in it that I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun. I still struggle sometimes with consistency. When I think of consistency of being this like hard, rigid thing that I have to do, then I don't want to do it. I don't have to like be so mean to myself when I'm not perfect, I guess, if that makes sense. When I'm having fun with something and I'm actually enjoying the ride, then I'm much more consistent. Don't beat yourself up for it. Just do the best you possibly can, and also just pat yourself on the back, because it's not easy to be super consistent with all these social medias all the time. Like it's very draining, especially reading replies, and it's very discouraging when you're not getting the views or the likes or the comments that you like are hoping for. But you have to remember, on those really, really low days, there are also really, really high days too. So that's what I always try to remember when I'm having like no one's liking anything, no one's showing up. I'm like, oh man, like I'm the worst streamer ever. So I just had to keep the mentality like I'm gonna be as consistent as I possibly can, and I know it'll like pay off because I'm putting my passion and work into it, and people can really see the passion you put into your content. I think the number one thing is always networking, like going into other streamers' chats, trying to make friends, staying up with trends, like playing games. I think a lot of people get stuck in this mentality of like, oh, I should only play this one game. And I know there's some streamers that make it off one game, but then it's really depressing when you're stuck in that one game forever and that's your whole career. Really make friendships in this space, because when you have friends in the space that are there supporting you, it also helps you so much more when like those lonely times. I was always like talking in other people's chats and like really like loving their streams, and then people are like, oh, do you want to play? A few months ago, the last Stranger Things that came out, the one actress that plays Chrissy, Grace Van, I forget her last name. Her name's Grace, but I went into her chat because I heard that she's a streamer. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Like, I love you in the show. And she noticed I was a girl immediately. She's like, oh, Autumn, do you want to play Valorant? And I was like, me? She didn't even know who I was. I think just taking that leap of faith and just going to people's chat like really can make like a positive like impact of like, man, this is cool. I even played Among Us with like the Mountain from Game of Thrones one time, and I was helping him do wires, and I was just like, what is my life right now? We all come from such different backgrounds. It's not like we all went to college for the same thing. It's like anyone can be a creator, like anyone. So it's just so fascinating learning about everybody and like where they've come from, and I guess like how they started. That's why I'm here. And I remember like when I started dating Garrett, it was very like different than my other like relationships because this person understood me like 100%. There really isn't a lot of couples that can relate so much in the industry that they're in. I think it's nice that we can relate to each other and we can vent to each other. And he's the most positive freaking person in the world. Like he's always just so happy and giddy. And sometimes I get really down on my numbers or stuff like that. And he's just the most like encouraging person of like, no, like it's fine. Like you're gonna do great. And like I'm here for you. And like it's just so sweet. So it's nice even when he's having like rough patches with things in his business world, like I can understand it and help him too. So it's really nice. But it is really nice having someone that completely understands like your struggles, because when you're with somebody that doesn't understand it, they like, oh, like they don't get it, so they can't relate, they can't help you or like be there to support you. So it's nice dating someone that's also in the industry.
I know you enjoyed that video, so what are you waiting for? Subscribe. We have so much more great content coming your way.